Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I will be reading a multi-character listener by me. So let's get into it. Kokushibo. You never really knew if he was ticklish or not. He was very stiff until the start of your relationship. And that was something you understood. He was not accustomed to physical touch. It was very weird to him. And it took a long time for him to get used to it. But you admired how hard he worked to try and make you happy, and tried to make up for it. But that meant there were lots of things you have not tried, and a lot of things and many questions that you've yet to have answered. So, of course, they were still on your mind, and you still wanted to know the answer to those questions, and those little thoughts in your head that would pop up every so often. You had to know. It was difficult not to wonder about them at night. And sooner or later, you had to get to the conclusion of whether or not he was ticklish. It may be a silly question. It may not be the most important thing in the world, but it was still important to you, just as he was, and everything about him would always be. So you were quite curious. Was your lover, Kokushibo, ticklish? Or not? You wanted to know, with every little bone in your body and every fabric of your being, you wanted to get to that answer, and you knew you would do everything in your might to get it. So, when you knew that you could try and that it would be safe to initiate that kind of touch, you knew that you had to do it. It took a little hyping up internally, because you did not want him to be embarrassed and be upset. But you knew in the end it would be nothing major, and you could try it safely. So once his guard was down, you went all up on him and tickled him. And he stared at you with confusion, and you were trying to tickle him in every spot. He furrowed his brows. Lion, is everything alright? He asked, speaking very slowly, like you had just suddenly lost it, like you were insane or something. You frowned at that. Of course everything's alright. Why are you looking at me like that? You say. A little bit embarrassed. You were blushing brightly, and that made him even more worried. Do you have a fever, darling? No, that's not it. I I was trying to tickle you, but I guess you're just not ticklish. You say, with a little disappointed frown. Then he chuckled at you, and just how adorable you were. And although you stayed embarrassed about this encounter for a while, and he did tease you about it, it was fine in the end. And you were kind of worried he'd be offended or something, but he thought your little attempt was quite cute. You were quite a bit disappointed, but you guessed just about everything in life. Some things are bound to be just imaginary, and you would never get to see him laughing from being tickled. As disappointing as it sounded, you could not really be upset about it. And you just hoped you'd see him laugh more in other circumstances, because his laugh is adorable. And just another reason for you to wake up the next day. Muichiro. Muichiro had not been tickled before. As weird as it sounds, it's really true. And you wonder just why he has not been. But you don't dare ask. When you ask him whether or not he's ticklish, he tilts his head at you. What is ticklish? And that's when you know he has no idea what that is. And that's when you know that you should use that to your advantage and perform a tickle attack. Of course, you have to be quite strategic about it. And you try to tell him just some unrelated answer. Yeah, that was a lie, but it was for the greater good of seeing him laugh and tickling him. The greater good may be questionable, but it was certainly something to fight for. And that's why you waited, patiently, trying to plan for the best time to stage your attack on him. When you noticed the best opportunity, which was when he was reading, you sat by his side as you usually would, and he was very engrossed in the book as usual. And you just decided to wait a couple of minutes, then you would strike. And that's exactly when you started to tickle him. He jumped a little bit, laughing loudly, and that was the best sign for you to continue, until his face was red and he was crying. Stop it, Wayan, he said, and then he immediately stopped, laughing as well. And he looked at you for a second, still laughing, tears streaming down his cheeks as he shook his head, his face red. You really can be the worst, he says, but he says it with a smile, and you know he doesn't mean it. You think you're safe until he strikes right back, tickling you. And it's needless to say, it all results in a continuous attack and disaster. But in the end, the two of you are in each other's arms, laughing about what had happened. And that's when you look up at him, kissing his cheek. You know, Muichiro? That's what I talked about when I asked you about whether or not you're ticklish. So you lied to me? I did, but it was worth it. He huffs, shaking his head. Maybe so. I guess it was. But you know what? You got what you deserved, and you paid back. I did, you say. And although he was a little bit embarrassed about it, he got his revenge. So there's nothing he's really just holding back. And nothing that would make him upset about this. You were worried he would be a little bit upset or shy or mad at you for touching him so suddenly. But you were quite glad that he understood that it was all in good fun. Although you were not so happy that he knew where you were ticklish now, and you could use that against you at any moment. But just as he knew many things about him, and you would hold these against each other. But for now, you just wanted to cuddle and nothing more. But expect him to perform a tickle attack in the future. And you certainly were going to get your revenge on that.